Hello, welcome back to ABI-DOS. Alright, I'm here in the, what's this thing? What's it called? Power screensaver? Screensaver, that's what it's called. Oh, okay, so, yeah, I just turned that on because last episode we finished a matrix reader, which was a pretty cool level, actually, giving us what appeared to be a matrix and then asking us to compute that. That was certainly a task, but that was pretty okay, I would say, for a puzzle. So now we're gonna go to the next one, which is called the Ranger. And this one I think scares me slightly because Ranger sounds like the type of level to give me trouble. Like Rotator and Merger and a bunch of other ones in the past that have been really short names but have really tricked me in the past. Ranger sounds like it would give me a hard time. So let's just get right into it, I guess. Ooh, numbers. Okay. This program calculates the difference between signals that have exhibited significant deviations from each other over time. What? Scan through S0 to S3. For each signal, compute its cumulative sum by adding the current value to a previous value of that signal. Output the S5, the difference between the two cumulative sums that are furthest apart from each other. Okay, I get the cumulative sum part. So at every point in time, there will be a cumulative sum. That is the sum of every value starting from the very first signal all the way to its current value. The sum of all those values, that's called its cumulative sum. And we basically take those four values, find the largest, or find the ones that are furthest apart, and submit that difference to S5. Okay. Well, I understand cumulative. Actually, we learned about how to make cumulatives like really long ago in aggregator. This is the basic setup for cumulative. And actually, as long as I can... Well, I was gonna say, as long as I can keep the cycle to be a cycle of 4, it shouldn't be that tough. But I don't even have to do that. I'm pretty sure a cycle that is a multiple of 4, or a round as a multiple of 4 would also work. So something like this would act as an aggregator. Yeah. I do find it interesting that the value is red because of the zeros being red. But most likely what we're actually going to do is we're going to use writers. And now the reason why I think so is because we want to find a difference, correct? And so... how do we select the smallest value or the largest value? Because we have 4 values total, right? I could write one onto the other and get the subtraction to work. And then what? Take out the larger value? Anything about a surefire way to get... Okay, actually, let me just copy this setup onto all 4 of these. Oops. There you go. So these are your 4 aggregators, which will basically give you a cumulative sum. Okay. And they do come out in 4 cycle rounds. So every 4 cycle you get an output. And we are supposed to look for the difference between the largest and the smallest right now, which is in this case 35 and 26. They differ by 9, so the output would be 9 into S5. The question is, how do we figure that out? Sensor? A greater smaller than sensor can do that. Ah, okay. Okay. So we can do it one by one, right? We can start in the very corner. And we can make it so that... Yes, we can make it so that this value over here is written onto a sensor down here. And we will check for... This checks for larger, but not really for smaller. Which is kind of the problem, right? We need both largest and smallest. I can easily select the largest value or the smallest value. But it's hard to do both. That is unless I shifted this maybe over here. That gives us two of the same value. No, this... No, this... Okay. Okay, this is 6, 6, 6, 9, 6. What? Okay, these are all positive values or non-zeros, non-negatives. So the change from 9 to 6 is just very confusing to me. I'm pretty sure I'm adding things wrong at this point. I find it interesting that this also manages to do what we used to do, but this is more compact in terms of how cycles work. I do realize that I can actually write this onto maybe this, if I try it. Kind of. Could write this onto there. So what I could do is something like this and then a comparator. So this checks for which is larger. And basically, I do want to notice, does this activate if the change from this value to this value? So this would check if they're both 2s. Can I make one that is not both 2s? We'll make a 2 and 0. No, I don't want 2 and 0. Yeah, 2 and 0. Wait. We want... I think we want 0 and 3. And I'll set this to a value like 2. So what I wanted to check was... Let's put a random one here. I want to check if this happens to change this value of the sensor to whatever value is here, at the same time as this going onto it, will that activate this? So by right, it should activate because the 3... Wait, no, that needs to be really high, like a 5. So by right, it should not activate because 3 is not greater than 5. However, if this 0 is written here, then this will be checking for greater than 0, which this 3 would beat. So that does activate it. So this actually does sense the 3 being greater than this value. So I can put them all in parallel. Or else I can put them 4 times in parallel. This... Okay, well, even so, could I actually easily check for the largest value? I could split it into 2 sets, right? So if I were to maybe just focus on 2 signals, then we'll leave the other 2 away. How do we select the larger value out of these 2? Again, I can write a greater than. If this value is larger than this value, then this will sense, and I think we will let it through. Otherwise, it will just simply pass through, and then this will be let through. So by default, the top value will be let through. The default, the non-sensing will occur either when the top value is larger, in which case we will pull it out, or when they're equal, in which case pulling either one doesn't matter, and so pulling out both are fine. So this will pull out the larger of the 2 values, in which case we start with 2, right? But next we will then go to 3, or we'll go to 2, right? Then we'll go to 5 and 0, 5 and 2. So now this checks for which is greater. Obviously the top is still greater. So the top gets sent out. And then eventually, over a long enough period of time, we will get... Will we eventually get a time period where the bottom is greater? No, alright, let's just... 34... Wow, this is really tough to find a setup where there are a lot of zeros here, which is why S1 is consistently smaller. Okay, if I did the opposite, then we can probably like make it easier to check. So we start with the normal values first. The bottom is taken out as per default. When this becomes a 5, This will now sense this to be greater and activate these two gates. The 5 will be sent out, the 2 will be left alone. So yes, this will in fact push out the larger of the two values. Okay. Can I repeat this 3 times? The issue is, even if I did that, right, I still need to what's that word? Simultaneously check for the smallest value, which typically isn't that easy. Although, this actually lets us select the smaller value as well by just changing. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm saying is that we not only can use this to select the larger value. You can see here that in the case of 2 and 5, the bottom path acts as the larger value and the top path acts as a smaller value. That's interesting. So the top path isn't a throwaway path, it's a smaller value path. Okay. I could see that being useful. Okay. Could we do this twice with the second set? Could we copy this over? Let's put them in order again, just to make things look nicer. Could we copy this over for signals 2 and 3, and then work them out as well? This is for signal 2, this is for signal 3. Right? And then a comparison will be made. Here, this 3 is a larger and the 0 is a smaller. And then the 4 will be larger and the 0 will be smaller. So the same thing occurs. And so all the top parts are always a smaller value, or the bottom parts are always a larger value. Okay. If we were to do so, we can select 2 smaller values. Yes. Then, the smaller value from here can compare with the smaller value from here. And I think the idea we can use there to do that is to maybe bridge. So, okay, I need to first confirm, will comparing 2 smaller values result in the smallest value? Will there ever be a case where that will not produce the smallest possible value? Because if 0 and 1 produce some numbers, then one of those numbers will be smaller. Let's assume all numbers are different for now. If they're all the same, it doesn't really matter, because whatever comes out will whichever comes out doesn't make a difference. So whatever comes out, as long as something correct comes out, it's fine. What I'm thinking is, suppose all numbers were different. From 0 and 1, there will be a smaller number. And from 0 and 2, there will be a smaller number as well. Will that ever contain the smallest number? And the answer is yes. Because the other choice will always be larger than at least one value. So the other choice will always never be the smallest value. Which means that either the smaller value from the top half or the smaller value from the bottom half is the smallest value. Then, one of them being the smallest value, when compared with the other, will then be pushed out as the actual smallest value. So yes, doing this and then comparing the 2 smaller values from each section will produce the smallest value. And the same goes for the largest value as well. Okay, so that works in theory. You just have to build the machine now, which might be the challenge. Because how are we going to shift this line down all the way to compare it with this line? I'm thinking maybe something like this, and then a bridge in front, or a conveyor to push it forward. I do notice that these will in fact merge though, if it were the other way around, see? Yeah, they will merge, which I don't like. So I don't know if it's possible to offset them in any way. I can maybe offset one of them by pushing one of them forward, and then maybe that's easier. Maybe I can rearrange these so that they aren't stacked on top of each other. Okay. If I did this, would that be faster? No. Okay, what if I did this? Would that be faster? That is a much faster aggregator. Now see, the thing is I don't know if I want a much faster aggregator or not. But this will produce much faster aggregators. Somehow. And they are in fact still correctly aggregated, I'm pretty sure. We have, okay, we're checking the S0 is 2, 2, 5, 6, 6, 9. 2, 2, checking, wait. 2, 2, why is it 3? Oh, because we don't retain the previous value. Oh, this is not an aggregator. Oops, my bad. I don't know why I thought it was an aggregator, but no, this is a correct aggregator. Yeah, 2, 2, 5, 6, 6, 9. Okay, I don't know why I thought I was doing there, but no. Okay, sorry, back to the initial problem. We need to siphon out the smallest value, which will always be in this line. Can I change that? I can always make it so that I can sort of like flip. See, if I flip this top thing over here upside down, the smaller value lines will be better. They will be closer together, so it's easier to have them be together. But so it's easier to combine them into a singular stream where we select the smaller one. But the larger one will now then be the new problem. Okay, what if I did something a little bit more special? No, I can't. I was thinking, could I write this downwards, so like a speedway to write this value all the way down here, but I don't believe I can. What is this again? Writes x to the icon 1 position in the direction. Oh, okay. No, that's not gonna help. This writes a set value, which I don't even know if we figured it out before. I don't remember if we've ever used it before, but it doesn't seem like we want that. Okay, so let's just first check. We do get 2 smallers and 2 largers. This is kind of like the most extreme we'll ever get, the 2 largers being furthest possible apart. If the 2 smallest are also this far apart, then that also becomes a similar issue. I could potentially merge them. I can potentially merge. Okay. Let's start by getting rid of this. I don't really want to see a loop. Let's start. Okay, let's actually mark the smallers by using a blue line, and the larger wires, the one that siphons the largest, by using a red line. So we can more easily see which wires are for larger and which wires are for smaller. I was thinking a red wire going across like this could be interesting. And then a conveyor doing this. Actually, a conveyor isn't really required. The larger value will automatically move to the right anyway. And then we can kind of do the same on the bottom. But not really. If the bottom smaller line were to go down first, then you would actually get... Well, you wouldn't get a merge. These can never merge each other because you can't have 2 things leaving from the same time from this space. Yeah, so that might actually be fine. Just I do need a conveyor though. And then similarly... Well, I say similarly, but I don't think I'm right here. I would say similarly, I can do the same for this wire by shifting it up. So this will go up this way. But that will cause a clash here, I'm pretty sure. And I think we can just prove that by flipping these. You'll cause a merge, which I don't like. So how do I fix that? I can't just... move this off by 1, I almost have to delay it a little. I could just put an obstruct here to delay it. So if there were to be some sort of this thing from happening, then this will wait for 1 turn before moving up, which I guess would do the trick, maybe? I don't know. I mean, maybe. Okay, so we can get rid of this, and we can probably just make the bottom one basically identically upside down. Identically? We can make the bottom one identical upside down. But we do need to ensure that we have arrows redirecting, because in fact, the direction here is different from the direction down there. So there won't be an automatic correct steering. So now we only have the outputs for large and small on these sides. So here you can see the smallest will always be here and the largest will always be there. So we first start off doing... Wait, what? Yeah, the 2 smallest will be here. The 2 largest will be here. I do find it interesting that the smaller values will always seem to be at the same time, but the largest are always not. Why is that? Look at that. The largest are 2 and 4, the smallest are 2 and 1. Is there a missing thing I'm not doing? Why? Oh, it's probably because this is flipped upside down, so this one takes 1 more step here. Yeah, you can see that here it takes a straight line for the smaller value here, and here it takes a straight line for a smaller value. Whereas it takes a longer line for the larger here. I mean, is it the same for this larger? Actually, that might not be true. If the larger line were this line down here, it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Whereas for here, it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 also. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It seems to be the same for both. What? Why is the... Okay, I can see that in this case... This is the larger value getting obstructed. This is not obstructed. So you do get a weird... But why isn't that happening for the small? It's probably because the small isn't actually hitting the obstructor, because the small is the one at the top. So if the small were to eventually occur like this, the smalls would be offset like that. Ooh, look at this. Ugh, look at this mess. This 6 over here is like the next cycle already from number 2. That is not very nice. They do merge very weirdly. I don't like them being 1 apart. Being 1 apart is not going to go well for this type of comparator. So can I make this better? Do I also obstruct the others? Actually, would that do anything? It would make things look very weird, but 2203. Why is this 2 red, by the way? Why is that 2 red? Oh, this 2 and 0 are already there. Then this 2 is the next 2 that comes out. This 2 is the first 2 from S1. This 0 is the next 0 that comes out. This 3 is the first 3 from S3. Does this continue working or is this not? It continues working, but it's offset wrongly. So it's like... This is from S0 at the 3 mark. This is from S1 at this 3 mark. This is from S2 at this 2 mark. This is from S3 at this 1 mark. Huh. Also, am I really stupid or... No. Wait. These are just all the values. Why did I make the entire machine in the past to separate them into large and small? Is this actually the smaller of the two? Oh, this is actually the smaller of the two. If I swapped these two, what happens at some point? Will I get the smaller of the two? I get this very weird thing that suddenly doesn't seem to really match up anymore. So our obstructor machine isn't actually that perfect. Okay, if I got rid of both of these, then of course merging will happen. There won't be merging here, but eventually merging will occur. I do see at some point that merging will occur. Not good. Not good. I don't like that obstructor. So let's go back to our original design and see if we can fix that better. So back to our original design where it would look like this. We do want to notice that only one of these two lines will have something on it. And only one of these red lines will have something on it. What do you call this? Blue? I think I said blue, right? I don't know what I said. What did I do in the past to this? I made that first. Okay. What if I made you first? Okay. Is that better? Okay. Do I want them all to... Do I want them all to come out at the same time? I think the answer is yes. And this would not work if that were the case. Because, as you can see, if this bottom path were to be taken, this two comes out way earlier than if this top path here. There has to be some sort of weighting mechanism. So it's almost like there has to be an obstructor here just to make sure that everything is aligned. And that obstructor has to... Well, what does it have to do? They all have to be obstructed by a certain amount. So, what is the longest path taken? If I put an obstructor here, let's say the longest path taken is this top path down to this bottom, which makes sense because they're the furthest away. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It takes 11 steps to get here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this you wait for 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This needs to wait for 1. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This needs to wait for 2. And then you'll always have outputs from these two signals at the exact same time, correct? Wait, oh right, I need arrows. Arrows, because these is the wrong direction. They have to be steered correctly. Yeah, seems like it. You'll always have outputs at the correct times. And I don't think there'll be any mergers at all because they manage to be offset by like just barely one apart from each other. And all I need to do from here is just do the same on the other side, hopefully. Is there any good in making them come out like really close to each other? I think the only reason why I would have wanted that is so that I can do the writing properly. And then we can say that the top path is the blue path and the bottom path is the red path from what I remember. Right, yeah. So for the bottom path, it looks like... Well, it looks like I need to flip this first. Because this part, yeah, I need to flip it first. Maybe that's why it didn't work in the past. So I didn't flip it. So I use the same system for both, which would have led to some weird things going on with one of the two of them. One of the two of them? Yeah. Maybe blue can go first? And then red can go after. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 6, 9. So there has to be an obstructor of 1 here. 1, 2, 3. No, there's an obstructor of some number at 8. Oh, yeah, sorry. The longest path is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The longest path is the top path here. So this path has to be obstructed by 1, this path by 2, and this path by 3. Well, this path by 3 is kind of a weird thing to say because that path, yeah. So that just needs to be space. So this will be obstructed by 3. This by 2, this by 1, and this by nothing. This is so much cleaner. But will you get outputs at the same time is my question. Yes, and these are actually the correct values. It looks like blue is at the top and red is at the bottom. Now my question is, can I make it look the same on the top by flipping this upside down? I think the answer will be yes, actually. I should be able to build that sort of machine. Okay. The thing is that this does require a lot of space. I'm not sure if I can make this any better. But you get this. 2203. The next value should be 2204. Cool, 2204. Then 5... No, 5 is the bottom one. This is a 2 and this is a 5. So the 2, 5. This would be a 1 and 4. So 2514. Yeah, 2514. So this now separates them correctly. Sorts them correctly. Alright, I'm gonna try and flip this upside down. Okay, so let's get rid of this first. Let's just work on the bottom first. Actually... yeah, hold on. So this, no, this is fine. Right? Yeah, this is fine. This will go here, this will go here, this will go here, this will go here. This will go here, there'll be a straight line across like this. There'll be no straight line here. And then, that's how it looks for this. In reality, I really just need to just copy this over. Flip, 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 flip. Get rid of all of these. Your thing is going to look like that. I know they turned the wrong way, so what I want is some conveyors here. I mean, I'm turned the right way. This has to flip upwards. And this will do this thing. This connector here, so the same thing has to occur here. This is the only thing that isn't symmetrical. And now we basically flip this entire system upside down. There'll be one that goes this way. These will point up. One that goes this way. One that goes this way. This one goes down here. This one goes down here. We do need conveyors. And then there's 3, there's 2, there's 1. These also are not flipped because, yeah, okay. So we should start with 2203 as expected. Correct. Then 2204. Then 2514. 52. Does this now check the larger value? Oh, it does. Huh. That's not what I wanted. Okay. If I wanted the smaller value, I can just flip these. I can actually just flip these around. And then you get 2203, 2204, 2514. Alright, and then 5635 seems correct. The largest value will be a 6 here, the smallest value will be a 3. And we just need to subtract them. Okay. This conveyor is a little bit annoying, I will say, because if it weren't there, I could just put the sensors down. I could put these down here. But no, I cannot do that because of this conveyor, which unfortunately has to be there. I don't think I can fix that issue. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking, could I make this any better by... I don't think so. Alright. I think it's as good as we can get. It just needs to somehow have a very efficient use of space here, which I don't know if we can do or not, but we'll see if we can pull it off. So now, I want to compare these, so we should put a writer here for a sensor. And I want to check for the smaller value of the two. I mean, it doesn't really matter, let's just do this. We'll do this, we'll make it actually symmetrical. And then we'll put the conveyors correctly. Okay, so we need to compute this again. If they are indeed the smaller value will be pushed out, if they were indeed the larger value to be pushed out. So this is where we kind of run out of space here. If we had more space, it would be fine. And honestly, I think there have been levels which give us more space before. Like, I don't know if there are any levels that don't have these red borders, but I'm pretty sure there was one. No, they all seem to have this red border. Yeah, this red border just seems to be there all the time. Well, I'm pretty... Whoa. I'm pretty sure there's been a level without said red border before, though. I don't know where it is, so... Eh, oh my gosh, what the heck is this? It's somewhere, it's somewhere. I know it's there. Anyway, again, what was I saying? Okay. First, we can produce greater... We can produce the outputs. We can throw away what we don't need by doing this. Actually, can I just... 4 outputs is kind of insane for this kind of thing, though. Maybe it would have been easier to make the smaller and the larger be together. I kind of fear for the ones on the outside. If the smallers are together and the largers on the outsides. The largers on the outsides are kind of hard to compare. They'll need their own second round of testing. Oh, well, it's fine. I do want conveyors here, 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 and here. The smaller, which are the blues, will activate these two. And the larger will activate these two. That works out. I don't really overlap anything that precious anymore. And I want it to be so that we're looking for the smaller one in the blue case. The smaller one is the one that moves forward. So we are looking for smaller. So here we're looking for the larger, right? The larger one is this one, which, if correct... Actually, is this even... What? Yeah. Wait a minute, is this now wrong? Is this now collecting the... let's get rid of all of these. 2204 5214. Now it looks like... Yeah. But if I flip the signals, will it then do the opposite? Yes, it will. Which I do like. So just flip the signals, it's fine. Okay. Now, let's relook at this machine and see what it did. This was sent to here. If this was larger, it would activate this and push forward. So we'll do the same here. If this was larger, activate this and push forward. If this is smaller, activate this and push forward. Otherwise, activate the other one. So this will automatically push out the larger from 2 and 0. The smaller of 2 and 0 will be 0 and 3. So the 0 and 3 will come out. Yes. the 2 and 4 would come out. The 0 and 4 would come out. Now we're looking at 1 and 5 coming out. Yes, wow, okay. So we have the correct things. Here 5 and 6 will come out. It doesn't matter which. Here 5 and 9 would come out. Okay, this works. Just that there's very little space for us to do our job. Question, can I shift this here and do some weird this way thing? Maybe? See, this was one away right before entering the loop. And this was also one away from the starting point. But this exists, which is kind of sad. Why don't I put you here? Do you think this works? I mean, yeah, but the problem is that if something goes up here, yeah, it will turn this way, which I don't like. And, you know, making space is not really the best thing to do. You know, I guess what else I can do is I can actually shift this entire loop over by 1. And hopefully that doesn't break anything. You know what? That doesn't change anything about this though. I want to shift... I want it to be an empty row here. So shifting this over by 1 doesn't really do much. Okay, we have exactly 1 more row of empty space here. Can we utilize that? I don't want to shift the central section is the issue. This kind of is already as good as it gets. So the question is, can we work from here and do these? Not really. Not really. I do like that this will get you the right values, but not enough space to do so. I think it's really good progress though. I don't know if I can make it... I don't know if I can make this any better. Oh, I don't know how to improve the spacing here. Is there anything inefficient that I've done here? Maybe I can get rid of this column somehow. This stupid conveyor is the only issue. Is that it would turn around otherwise if that conveyor wasn't there. If it didn't need to be there, I could just shift this entire thing back by 1. But because of it, it has to be there. Is that true? So okay, let's relook at this. Let's try shifting this back by 1 and compare it with the lower setup to see what is different. This line here and this line here. This line is short, but it doesn't receive the 3. And in fact, because it's the shortest, there's very little space for it to wait. And that's the issue. That's why there needs to be this hole here. I think that's most likely unavoidable. Can I fix this? Oh, I like this so much. It works. It just has no space. Can I not improvise? Can I improve this in any way possible? If I were to shift this in, then it wouldn't really help. because this would need to occur at the same time as this. Yeah, look at that. This would basically be stacked on top of that, which doesn't really work. It could also be placed here. But again, that takes up space for the obstructor. I don't really think that would work either. This is otherwise so good. I just think the middle wiring section is the one that's taking up the most space in this case. I don't know if I can make it any better. I really don't know if I can make it any better. Or if I need to just reset. I think I'll just take this design and be happy with it for now and start working on it next time. So yeah, I think I'll just end the episode here. I think I've done enough progress for today. In fact, yeah, this is actually a lot more progress I expected to manage thus far. So cool, I'm happy with it. So yeah, once again, short puzzle titles continue to elude me. I guess that's the nature of I don't know. It's just a pattern I've been seeing. These things are like tiny but deadly, man. And I'm not really tiny either, but their names are just so misleading. Alright, well, that's fine. I'll work on this next episode. Yeah, alright, until then though, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!